going on YouTube? Belton here. Got a banger video for you today. Something that has never been shared before. I'm pretty sure something that has never been collected. Today we are going to be discussing and sharing synthesis implicit modifier weightings. Not just discussing them from the empirical data I've collected or looking at relevant or relative market data, but actually hardlining and codifying that into exact numbers, tiers, and probabilities. Most of what I make content-wise is a labor of love. This is something that has built over lots of, lots is an understatement, quite literally thousands of hours of rolling vultures, gathering synthesis data. However, there was a missing piece, and that was something that I stumbled upon sort of accidentally today. And I'll discuss that in a bit. But as you can see here, I've been able to put together a chart. This is something that I will share below in the video description. This will be the first of its kind. It's only applying to a specific base type here, but again, I'll elaborate on that in a few minutes. However, if this is something that is well received and people find this useful, we can make some more of these and I'll investigate it further. Talking about the labor of love, however, this was not one of those. This sucked. This was a lot of manual data entry and a lot of scouring through things that were previously unavailable or perhaps people were unaware of, including myself. However, I am quite confident with the results I have here, and I think that this could be an incredibly useful tool. Synthesis crafting for some time, particularly since the inception of Vivid Vultures, has been the pinnacle of crafting in PoE, the most expensive as well as the most commonly used crafting type in terms of the three major mutual exclusivities, which are Eldritch/Fracture, Influence, and Synthesis. The Synthesis ones are typically the S tier with respect to rarity, difficulty, and mirrorability and serviceability. Things like you can see here, this bow, quiver, this ring, and more recently today, Mirror crafted a jewel, as well as other various different things. I'm sure most of you are familiar with synthesis. The focus of this video will not be on that. What is new today is the fact that, again, I've been able to put together, and it is just within a sort of vacuum or pocketed sample size here, an exact weighting sheet, which is incredibly encouraging. Hopefully I will be able to build upon this and apply it to a variety of different bases, because one of the only things in the game that remains a mystery are synthesis weights. You know, you can go to Craft of Exile and find out, if you go on like a pair of gloves like this, you hold Alt, okay, tier 1 ES, go look on Craft of Exile, it'll tell you the weighting, tell you the weight of all the prefixes, the odds to roll, etc. That does not exist for synthesis mods. It is sort of the Wild West with respect to crafting. And that ambiguity is one of the major reasons why a lot of people, as well as the cost, let's not downplay the cost because it is quite expensive, especially when Vivid Vultures get up there in price. But the lack of actual, specific data in terms of weights and stuff has very clearly been a preventative measure from people engaging with that in the past. And this sheet is something that will combat that. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's get into it here. So there are three ways in which this data was collected over the past couple of years since Vivid Vultures have been around. The primary means in which I would collect data would be through things like this. If you look here, every time I do a mirror craft or anything with Vultures, I will mark down the specific rolls each time. I have used well over 200 to 300,000 Vivid Vultures. I've done probably about 100 to 150 mirror items in the time that Vivid Vultures have been added. And I have marked down thousands, if not tens of thousands of rolls across a variety of different base types. And so that gives you a baseline sort of, first-hand empirical data collection, right? And so for myself, obviously, because I don't share this in public, I mark down specific modifiers that are of concern to myself. You can see they're bolded here. I did just switch to dark theme because apparently it flashbangs when it's the light theme. So I'm not sure how clearly you guys can see the ones that are bolded, but for myself, the ones that I'm interested in, after I collect a data set, I would mark down how many times I get those, and then I kind of collate those into a single document later on. The second way that you can sort of verify or compare the data has been to go onto the trade site, and you can look up, like, let's say you wanted to find out what was a rare modifier, flat fizz synthesis tier 1 or fizz percentage synthesis tier 1, right? You could look up, Necropolis League online and offline, and then type in the synth implicit you're looking for across all base types. If one of them has 500 listings and the other one has 6,000 listings, again, that ratio or that relationship is probably not going to be too insightful. However, it's probably pretty clear, given the discrepancy there, that one is rarer than the other. And so that, combined with the first-hand information, obviously provides a pretty good picture, at least in a way that you could rank the rarity of different synth mods. But again, it's non-specific. One of the funny things too, actually, with the lack of access to information that PoE at large, I would say, it kind of suffers from, is that I know a lot of people actually don't even know how to access total lists of where synth implicits are. The one that I use just to find out what is available is PoE DB. If you type Synthesis League and then come here to Synth Implicit, and then you can go to the search bar here, and in our case, we're going to be covering jewels today. So we can type jewel, and then you can see here, Abyss jewels, Abyss jewels, blah, blah, blah. It's important to note, and this will be something that applies for the video going forward, that Abyss jewels have a separate list of synthesis modifiers. Some of them do overlap. For example, T1 Global Crit Multi, 3 to 4% is the same on both jewels. However, Abyss jewels have more mods, and they have different mods too, things like attack and cast speed during onslaught, as well as weapon-specific things, so like crit multiplier with bows, right? That doesn't exist on regular jewels. And there are some ones that apply on regular jewels as well that don't exist there, some mutual exclusivities. However, for the duration of this video going forward, what we'll be discussing when I mention jewel synth weights, we'll be referring to Crimsons, Cobalts, Viridians, Prismatic jewels, Timeless jewels. If you get 5 rare Timeless jewels, it in function works the same way as a Prismatic jewel, as well as cluster jewels. So just Abyss jewels are different, but any other jewel type will apply for what we're talking about here. So in any case, if you want to find out the total available synth modifiers, you come to PoEDB or your website of preference. This is the one that I like to use. Type in jewel, and then you can see here, scrolling down through it, there are still a shit ton of modifiers, right? And each one of these is just listed a single time. It'll show the tiers, right? So you can see here 2 to 3 crit chance for spells while wielding a staff, 4 to 5 for crit chance spells while wielding a staff. That's obviously the tier 2 and the tier 1, but there's nothing to do with the weights there, right? And so again, this can provide you a list of the modifiers that are available in totality, but it doesn't do anything for narrowing down the specifics in terms of how likely you are to hit it, how many vultures on average it might take, or how many manual synthesizing attempts it might take on average using the synthesizer through harvest, etc., right? And so that was kind of the missing link, and that is where today, purely by coincidence, happened to come into play. So I have been crafting for the past couple of leagues, actually, but in particular of late in this league, doing a lot of synthesis crafting on jewels. The Adorned has made that obviously incredibly lucrative, as you can see here. We've got a variety of different Adorned jewels here with the 4 implicit modifiers, 4 implicit modifiers, and that is obviously 3 synth, Gilded Fossil being replaced with the Corrupted Fossil. And so there's a lot of value for those now with that. You do also have things like Rational Doctrine that can roll them. And then you do, as you can tell probably, I'm playing an armor stacker, so being able to get this reduced mana cost of skills and those additional benefits on a small cluster jewel, in particular, when combined with 3 or 4 one-passive voices, is very, very strong. And so even though jewels perhaps are a little bit more innocuous and, last thought with respect to overall build strength compared to other things, This is quite relevant, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that despite the fact it's not, let's say, your main hand weapon, synthesis modifiers on jewels are incredibly powerful, in particular with those two manifestations I just mentioned there. So that was the impetus for my interest in this recently, and as I just finished this mirror craft. Oh, sorry, where is it? This one here. I crafted this yesterday, and as you can see, it's got the triple synth implicit. I knew what modifiers I wanted going into it. The reduced mana cost of skills was mandatory, and then after that, I was willing to take 3 attack speed with swords, 2% attack speed, 5 fire res, 6 armor, 5 int, ES on hit, and I think that was probably more or less the totality of the mods I was looking for, right? But it poses the question, in particular with Vivid Vultures being the price that they are right now, which is 12 divines at the moment, but last night when I was doing this, they were 14 divines each. Should I be manually synthesizing these through Harvest, right? What modifier do I want to get first, and where do I stop with it? How many vultures would I need on average? Blah, 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 right? If you're just taking a shot in the dark, that's a very easy way to lose money, especially when the stakes are so high. And so I started pursuing different ways to try and kind of shore up that information, going through my past data or whatever. And by happenstance, something kind of funny happened. And that is that I put a keybind on my mouse, which I guess has the same effect outside of the game, right? The keybind, when I go outside of the game, it opens up the source code on a website. And accidentally opening the source code on a PoE page, at quick glance, I just saw it for a second, but I noticed something right away. And it was this. Modifier, synthesis, implicit, attack speed, jewel. 1%, 1%. Now, then you look here, and it goes 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%. But if you go look at any one of these websites, it never says, right, if we go attack speed, it never shows the same tier multiple times, right? And so immediately there was some curiosity on my part saying, why is it in the coding side of things, it has the same mod there multiple times over? And so that was where, again, not a labor of love. It was fucking brutal. I decided to go through the entire source code on this base type, which happened to be jewels because of me crafting it. And I was able to then overlay that information I took there with the empirical and relative data that I had gathered in the past for that base type. And at first glance, it very much was congruent. It fit with the conclusions that I had drawn. And so that was enough of a impetus for me to kind of go all in, so to speak. Thereafter, I went through the entire website and I meticulously copy and pasted every single modifier for every single one that was available and how many times it showed up. Because again, that was the profound moment here, was recognizing that these were listed multiple times. And what I realized afterwards was that, after a few minutes or let's say an hour, was that there are basically tiers of synthesis weights, right? And the more amount of times that an individual mod showed up in the source code, the higher its weight was, based on the other data I had, as well as just sort of a fluid understanding I have after having done this for so many times. And so that the appearance of the mod more frequently in the source code meant that it had a higher weight. And so after going through all of the total modifiers, I believe the list was 337 implicits. There were actually 339. 2 of them were implicits that are no longer in the game. However, they did still exist in the code. That was ES regen per second and life regen per second. They do still exist in standard, which is perhaps why they're still there, but it's not possible to roll them anymore. So it doesn't matter really if you assign them a 0 value or if you just remove them. So there were actually 339, but I removed the 2 of those to whittle it down to 337. Then going through the individual modifier lists, which you can see there were a lot of, I was able to break them down in terms of how many times did that modifier show up. So they're obviously the bulk of them they only show up once. These are the rarest mods. Sometimes they would show up twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 10 times, or 17 being the highest. And with the page that I was just showing there, as you can see, 2% attack speed is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then we come back here and we can see that 2% attack speed it's just a little small number there, but a 7, right? And so after we lay all that information into an Excel spreadsheet, we can then take the 7 and divide that by 337 and express that as a percentage to get a 2.08% chance to hit that modifier. I then would go and check that compared to the, several thousand, probably last league I spent 110 mirrors rolling a Doran Jewels. This league I spent 25, so I think I actually had about 8,000 or 9,000 Vivid Vultures just for the basic jewels, and so it was a pretty good data set. And again, everything that I double checked here lined up. And once I finished filling out the sheet, it wasn't like it was close or whatever. It was exact. It worked and it filled in perfectly. So this is not 100% science. Like I can't. This is not the exact same as like GGG data mining it, but I am very, very confident that this is, if not exact, it is certainly actionable. And everything that is listed on here, again, is completely commiserate with my anecdotal experiences, which, again, I can't overstate or understate enough. Wait, understate or overstate? I can't overstate how much time and how many how many attempts underlie my opinions here. But that was how that was collected. And again, much of what I do data-wise, super fun. I enjoy it. This was not one of those. But I thought, I'd put it together in kind of a semi-pretty, or do my best attempt to make it pretty in a spreadsheet here, so the information will be easy to communicate. So you can see here what I put together is Belton's Synthesis Implicit Modifier tier and waiting list for base jewels: Viridian, Crimson, Cobalt, Prismatic, and Cluster jewels. How to use this spreadsheet. When rolling Vivid Vultures, purchasing Synth Implicit jewels, or manually synthesizing a jewel using the Harvest Bench, use this spreadsheet to help inform your decision-making process. Use Control plus F to search for whatever synthesis mod you're looking for, and then check the column values at the top to see how many vultures it will take on average to roll that modifier, as well as its probability of landing. Note, this sheet does not apply to Abyss jewels, which have a separate synthesis mod pool. So, following those relatively simple instructions, why don't we take a look at the jewel we made today, right? So we got armor, fire res, mana cost is skills. So why don't we type mana cost, Control F, and it takes us down here. All right, 2% reduced mana cost of skills, which all of these I have linked to the wiki page too, in case you want to look those up. And then we scroll up and we can see it will take 337 Vivid Vultures to roll on average, or with a probability of 0.3% of rolling. All right, and then we can go for our second mod, which was armor percent. And we can go here, that's tier 2, so tier 1 armor percent. 112 vultures on average, or a 0.89% chance to roll. And then we had fire res. Tier 1 fire res, 1 in 84, 1.19% chance to roll. So what does that mean for me in terms of how that information would be actionable? I know that the reduced mana cost is the rarest. I know that the armor percent is the second rarest, and the fire res is the most common. So that means that when I'm prioritizing the jewel, right, the smartest one for me to have first would be the most expensive one, so the reduced mana cost. If I could find one that has that on it already on the trade site, for example, or if I can manually synthesize with Harvest, that would be preferable to having to use vultures, right? Because the difference, the discrepancy, right, at 14 divines apiece, right, that's about 250 vulture discrepancy there, which, translates to that's 3.5 mirrors in additional cost of vultures, simply by prioritizing one over the other. And not to mention the time sink and the Kraychik Chimerals. Again, vulture rolling is pretty high stakes, in particular if you do it late in the league. It is significantly cheaper earlier on in the league, but that's not really the point of the video. The point of the video is that this sheet, I think, can be an incredibly valuable resource for people. As far as I know, this is the first of its kind. I am perhaps humbly the most I don't want to say qualified, but experienced person on the planet with respect to vulture rolling since they've been introduced. And I've kept pretty meticulous data on that. So this is also equally exciting for me, actually, because it's a way that I can communicate a lot of the things that I sort of just say, when I'm doing crafts, I might suggest to people, oh, you should get this one first or this one first. This one's like a tier 0 rarity. This one's a tier 1 rarity, blah, 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 right? But there's no people, you can't point people to something directly that confirms what you're saying to them. And so a lot of the time you sort of beat around the bush a lot and kind of repeat yourselves. And being able to actually codify or quantify a lot of the things that have become sort of second nature or that I sort of had loose leaf through my data collection is an incredibly powerful tool and can potentially be quite game breaking for those who are interested in this style of play. It's not lost on me that synthesis rolling and synthesis crafting is perhaps a later stage thing that is relevant to less people than maybe making a video about T17 map farming, but there's a gap in the market of understanding here, right? Information asymmetry obviously exists. This is stuff, again, that I've had sort of in the back of my head for a while, but never really been able to codify. And coming across that source code today was one of the last missing pieces, I think, to be able to tie it all together in a way that I can share it with you guys now. And hopefully being able to access something like this might encourage some of you guys to take another crack at crafting or take another look at maybe vultures or synthesis, because it is, as I'm sure most of you know, incredibly powerful. And perhaps a little bit easier to understand now. So for the time being, this is, as I mentioned at the top there, this is only pertains to base jewels and cluster jewels. But I can go through and do the same thing that I did with the various other base types. This single sheet here took me about 6.5 hours to put together. So it was no small undertaking. Hopefully the video interests some people and some positive feedback, because that's always encouraging and helps motivate. But with the league dying down and me having accomplished most of my goals to the point that I'm now double corrupting like 100 Nimbus in a single day, or mirror crafting like 5 different jewels, things like that. I still enjoy doing it, but obviously it's a little bit frivolous. Being able to put together data like this that can have material impact not only on my play style, but perhaps for the player base at large going forward. That's obviously a big motivator. So as I mentioned, I will be linking this spreadsheet in the video below. The description below. If you want to be able to access it and edit it or anything like that, there shouldn't be anything that you need to edit, just the Control F function to look at it. But if you do want to be able to edit anything, what you do here is you go up to File, and you go to, Make a copy, and then just save it to your drive, copy like this, and then you'll be able to edit whatever you want on it. So you can mark it all up, and the original copy obviously is just view only, but the making a copy allows you to make whatever edits you'd like if you so choose. So yeah, guys, that's it. I feel like I've covered all the major points there. I'm super excited about this. Again, I'm hoping that my passion and my interest here, my excitement, is not too esoteric. Many ways that I play the game can be alienating at times, but this is an incredibly profound thing. In particular, if I'm able to adapt it at large to synth weights, because if you go take a look on Craft of Exile, as I mentioned, PoE has made leaps and bounds in terms of codifying most of its information, but there has been one gap in that, right? And that has been synthesis, right? You can come here and you can see Vol Implicits, you can see all this stuff, you can go on emulators and simulators and the haunted modifiers and all these different things, but synthesis is always eluded. And that has obviously presented an opportunity for people like myself who are willing to put in that extra legwork to get some competitive advantage. But I have enough. I am enough. And at this stage in my PoE career, so to speak, especially as we come towards PoE 2, I think I'd really just like to be able to share my passions a little bit more and get some people interested in the thing that has kept me playing this game for so long. All right, so that's the video, guys. Hopefully I covered everything. Again, stream of consciousness here. I might have overlooked a couple of things. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions, concerns, or if you'd like to see any further content like this in the future, any other different base types, it's possible for me to do that. If you don't mind leaving a sub and a like, if you're new to the channel, that'd be fantastic. Been not unmotivated, but been hitting a bit of a lull, I guess, a bit on the YouTube recently, maybe past month and a half, where it just seems like it's kind of lost a little bit of steam. That probably has to do with the league somewhat, but videos like this, I think, experimentation like this, I think, is really kind of the cornerstone of what propelled me to make videos in the first place. And not that I act on the whims of others, but it's obviously encouraging when things do well, when you put a lot of effort in. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you're going to be doing some synth crafting, hopefully the sheet is useful, and I hope you have many happy returns, some good RNG, and a good time at Ray Class, boys. Keep on crafting, keep on trucking, and I will see you soon.
Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick.